Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's Curtis. History is in the making, so I want to tell you what's going on right now. Something real big's going on right now. And if you like Tesla, you like Elon Musk, you're interested in doing anything with space, this video is for you. SpaceX is going public, and I'm going to explain what's happening, why it's happening, and what might happen next, okay? So please help me out. Drop a comment about what you think about SpaceX or Elon Musk or the stock market, right? I mean, that's going to be greatly affected with the IPO coming up. They're doing their roadshow. So I promise my best that I'll respond if you drop a comment. Give me a like and subscribe now. And of course, my goal is always to try to keep it nice, easy to follow. And as an FYI, all of this information always comes from real sources, credible sources, and they're available to you online as well. Okay. So it ain't going to be just all my opinion. But information, again, is out there readily available. Let's get going. So let's get into it. SpaceX just filed to go public, and this is going to be the biggest IPO in stock market history. That's big time, right? They want a $2 trillion price tag. They also want to raise $75 billion by selling shares to the public. Now, this might not mean anything to you, but the old record was held by Saudi Aramco, which is a huge oil company in Saudi Arabia, and they raised $29 billion. Keep that in mind, right? They raised $29 billion. SpaceX wants $75 billion. So practically, SpaceX wants more than double what Saudi Aramco was able to raise by selling to the public. Even if you never buy a single share, this practically affects your life. It touches your retirement savings, it touches your internet, and of course the whole stock market. So if you've got an IRA, maybe a 401k with your workplace, you're impacted by it. Today, I'm going to explain everything, what's happening, why it matters, what the risks are, and what it means for you and your money. I'm going to try my best to not use any confusing words, just simple, honest talk. So let's move forward. On May 21st, SpaceX shared a big document called an S1 with the government. This is the paper every company has to file before it goes public. The numbers in it are unbelievable. They want to raise $75 billion. The last record, again, was Saudi Aramco at $29.4 billion, and SpaceX is trying to raise more than double that. The total value they want the company to be worth is between 1.75 and $2 trillion. That would make SpaceX worth as much as Apple or Microsoft on day one. That's huge. This all started on April 1st when they filed secretly with the government. Since then, things have been moving fast. They plan to list on the Nasdaq stock exchange, and trading could start as early as June. This is not a rumor, this is real, and it comes straight from official filings and major news sources. It's happening, and it's big. Okay, so let's look at the numbers because they are wild. SpaceX wants to be worth $2 trillion. That puts them in the same group as Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia right from the start. The $75 billion raise would be more than double the biggest IPO ever. Okay? Double the biggest IPO ever. Their revenue, which means the money that they made, hit $18 billion in 2025. Most of that came from Starlink, and I'm sure many of you have heard of Starlink, the satellites that provide data, internet service across the world. Starlink brought in $11.4 billion on its own. Starlink has 17 million people paying for it in over 115 countries. Starlink is the part of SpaceX that makes the most money. But here's where it gets tricky. The price they're asking is 95 times their revenue. That means you'd be paying $95 for every $1 the company makes if you were to buy their stock. Apple only charges about 8 times its revenue, right? So if you contrast that, that's over 10 times more. Easy. And then even Nvidia at its highest was around 30 to 40 times. SpaceX is now asking for 95 times their revenue. On top of that, the company lost $4.9 billion in 2025. I mean, of course, it's common for these type of businesses to not be generating money and to have losses when they first start. But nonetheless, they're spending tons of money on starships, satellites, and building things out. They're not making a profit yet. So yes, the growth is amazing, but you need to understand what you're paying for if you were to invest in SpaceX and buy their stock. So you've probably heard IPO, 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 right? Several times, maybe throughout your life. Let me quickly explain what an IPO is. A lot of people hear the word, but they really don't understand it. IPO stands for Initial Public Offering. It means that a private company is selling pieces of itself, pieces of its company, to regular people for the first time. Think of it like this, right? It's something I tell my kids. Imagine you own a pizza shop. An IPO is like cutting your business into slices and letting anyone buy a slice. Each slice is called a share. And so essentially, if a huge company has a million shares or a billion shares, right? That's a million slices, a billion slices that you can potentially buy, practically. Here's how the process works in 4 steps. Step 1, the company files paperwork secretly with the government. SpaceX did this on April 1st. Step 2, the S1 document goes public. That happened on May 21st, and it shows everything about the company's money, losses, and risks. Step 3 is the roadshow. The company leaders are going to travel around and pitch to big investors to set the share price. Step 4, shares start trading on Nasdaq. Anyone with an investing app, such as Robinhood, right? If you use E-Trade, if you use Charles Schwab, if you use Fidelity, you can buy and sell through there. Here's the cool part. SpaceX is letting regular people buy shares directly through those apps. That almost never happens with an IPO this big because typically those shares are reserved for large institutional buyers, such as pension funds. Here in California, we've got places like CalPERS or large banks. Normal people are actually getting a chance to get in early, and that's huge. When you buy SpaceX stock, you're not just buying a rocket company, you're actually buying 4 businesses in one. The first one, we brought it up earlier, is Starlink, right? That's the moneymaker. It beams internet from satellites that are in space down to Earth practically. About 17 million people are using it already in over 115 countries. It made $11.4 billion, which is 61% of all the money SpaceX brings in. If you live somewhere with bad internet, Starlink could be a game changer. It tripled its customer in just 1 year. And then second, it's the rocket business. Falcon 9 is the most trusted rocket in the world. It launched 67 times in 2024. NASA the military, and private companies all depend on it. Then there's Starship, a huge rocket built to go to Mars. It's still being tested, but if it works, it changes everything. The third is going to be XAI. Okay, you guys may have heard of Grok. That's Elon Musk's AI company, and it got added into SpaceX before the IPO. So if you're getting a piece of an AI company, if you're buying SpaceX stock. The fourth is X, which of course used to be called Twitter. It has over 500 million users, and how much it is really worth is up for debate, but it's part of the deal. So basically, if you're buying into SpaceX, this is a 4 company in one. You get the space, the internet, the AI, and social media all together. And it hasn't included Tesla yet, but if you think about the combination of Tesla added into that, just watch out. It's exciting, but also very complicated. Okay, so here's the timeline you need to know. April 1st, SpaceX secretly filed paperwork with the government, right? Then on May 21st, the S1 document went public. That was the big reveal where SpaceX money details came out. There were 38 pages that had the risks and all sorts of information in it, which is a lot. In late May, the roadshow is going to start. That's when the company leaders are going to travel around and pitch to big investors. Then on June 11th, this is where they're expected to set their final share price, right? Which is how much each stock of the company is going to be selling for. June 12th, the trading could start on Nasdaq. And here's what really matters for you. Regular people, just like you and me, will be able to buy shares through Robinhood, Fidelity, Schwab, and that almost never happens for IPOs this big. Usually Wall Street gets in first, but not this time. There's also an investor day coming up, which is the first real look inside the company. And going back to those 38 pages of risks that I mentioned, they actually list Elon Musk himself as a risk. He runs Tesla, SpaceX, XAI, X, Neuralink, and the Boring Company. That's a lot of jobs just for one person. If he gets spread too thin, SpaceX could suffer. But you know what? I'm never going to bet against Elon. So even if you never buy a single share of SpaceX, this IPO still affects your life. Here's how. First, your retirement money. If you have a 401k or savings that invest in index funds, pay attention. When SpaceX joins the S&P 500, which probably will because it's so big, your index fund will automatically be buying SpaceX stocks. That means your retirement savings will be invested in SpaceX whether you choose it or not. This will happen to millions of Americans automatically. Secondly, regular people can buy the shares, right? For the first time at this level, everyday people can buy IPOs through those apps. But heads up, the demand's going to be huge. And from what I heard, more than likely, we're not going to be able to buy as many shares as we would like. And then on top of that, I believe they're selling the shares in chunks of 100 shares. Third, internet access. Starlink already gives internet to 17 million people in over 115 countries. Raising $75 billion means they're going to get more satellites. They're going to get their service to work faster. The internet's going to be cheaper. And then especially, they're going to be able to gain more reach to people in rural areas. Fourth is going to be jobs. Did you know SpaceX has over 25,000 employees? So going public means they're going to get more money. They're going to have more rocket launches and thus they're going to have more jobs. The whole space industry is growing because of this. This IPO is going to shake up the whole stock market. Look at how fast SpaceX has grown. They went from 4.6 billion in revenue in 2022 to 18 billion in 2025. That's almost 4 times bigger in just 3 years. Wall Street loves that kind of growth. But there's a bigger picture here. First, the IPO wave. When SpaceX goes public and does well, it opens the door for other companies. OpenAI, if you guys know of ChatGPT, Anthropic, if you guys know of Claude AI, they're both planning to go public later on this year in 2026. SpaceX going first is like a green light for them. Second, space stocks get shaken up. Right now, people are buying smaller space companies such as Rocket Lab or Virgin Atlantic. But once SpaceX is available, many investors will sell those and move into SpaceX, buying SpaceX stocks instead. That could be bad news for these smaller space companies. Third, index funds are affected. At $2 trillion, SpaceX would be the 6th most valuable company in America. If it gets added to the S&P 500, index funds all over the world will automatically buy it. That means hundreds of billions of dollars flowing in. Fourth, money gets pulled from other stocks. $75 billion has to come from somewhere. Investors will sell their stocks to buy SpaceX. So you might see other stock prices drop for a little while as well. All right, now let's talk about the risks. And I really need you to hear this part. The S1 filing has 38 pages of risk warnings. That's not normal. Here are the biggest ones. First, Elon Musk is listed as a risk. I had mentioned that. And of course, I mean, it's been all over the news. It's striking. SpaceX own paperwork says Musk is a risk to the company. He runs Tesla, SpaceX, XAI, X, Neuralink, and the Boring Company all at the same time. Think about it, right? That's a lot for one person to manage. If he can't give SpaceX enough attention, the company could struggle. Second, no profits. SpaceX lost $4.9 billion in 2025. Yes, they're building big things, but they're burning through cash very fast as well. Third, the price is really high. You'd be paying $95 for every $1 the company makes. Apple only charges about $8 for every $1 it makes. Even Nvidia at its peak was about $30 to $40. Only about 10 to 20% of SpaceX value comes from money it actually earns right now. The rest is based on what people hope will happen in the future. Essentially, what we hope the company will become in the future. And of course, there's a lot of great things that it can become. There's a exponential growth that it can truly have. Fourth, Starship is risky. A big chunk of SpaceX's future depends on Starship working. If it fails or gets delayed, the company's value could drop a lot. Fifth, they depend on the government. NASA and the Pentagon are big customers. If politics change, that money could go away. Sixth, IPO hype is very dangerous. Stocks often jump way up on the first day and then crash later. That's very typical for an IPO. Facebook dropped 50% after its IPO. Don't let excitement make you rush into buying. SpaceX is an amazing company, but even amazing companies can be bad investments if you pay too much. Let's zoom out because this is about more than just stock prices. This whole thing
changes the world. First, global internet, right? 3 billion people still don't have good internet. Starlink is working to fix that. It already has 17 million users in over 115 countries, and it's growing very fast. With $75 billion from this IPO, SpaceX can launch thousands more satellites. That's going to mean faster internet for more people, especially in places that have never had internet. Second, space becomes a real industry. We all can see that, right? When a $2 trillion space company hits the stock market, space is no longer a small thing. More money flows in, more companies compete, and more cool stuff gets built. Things like this, space and data centers in space, and space factories, and even mining asteroids become more realistic. I mean, possibilities are endless. But imagine traveling to space. They're trying to make that real. Third, Mars gets closer. Starship is the rocket that's built to go to Mars. Elon Musk wants to get there by 2030. The IPO money is going to help pay for that. Even if Mars doesn't happen on time, the technology has huge uses here on Earth as well. Fourth, one company gets a lot of power. SpaceX launches military satellites and gives internet to war zones. It's also NASA's main ride to space. One company controlling all of that is a really, really big deal, and it raises some serious questions too. Let me break down what's coming next. In the short term, around June 2026, the roadshow starts any day now. The final share price is going to be set around June 11th, and then trading could possibly start on June 12th on the Nasdaq. The demand is going to be huge. I mean, personally, I'm thinking about it myself. The stock will probably jump a lot on day one, but that doesn't always last. You'll be able to buy through all the different apps out there. Again, Robinhood, Fidelity, Schwab. And again, you might not be able to buy as many shares as you would like, but it'll be available to the retail investor at least. In the middle term, around late 2026, the lockup period ends. That's when company insiders can start selling their shares, which usually pushes the price down. SpaceX will also release its first earnings report as a public company. It could get added to the S&P 500, which could cause a huge wave of automatic buying. OpenAI and Anthropic, again, are both expected to go public around this time as well. And then in the long term, from 2027 and beyond, Starlink wants to grow over 50 million subscribers. Starship should start doing real commercial missions. The whole space economy is expected to reach $1.8 trillion by 2035. And here's my honest take. SpaceX is one of the most important companies in the world. I would not bet against Elon any day of the week. But again, the price is really high and the risks are truly real. If I invest, it'll be for the long term because I can certainly see space exploration, space travel, and a whole lot of upside to traveling or SpaceX in space. So, whether you end up buying shares or not, this IPO changes your retirement funds, your 401k, your IRA. It changes the way internet is done here in the world. It changes the job market and a whole lot more. It's going to change the stock market as well. So I'd say keep up to date, stay informed, be smart if you're going to invest in it. But again, don't let just the hype control your money decisions.
All right. So before I leave you all, I'd like to know your thoughts on SpaceX. What do you think about SpaceX, space exploration? What do you think about the IPO? How about rockets, data centers in space? Whatever it is, share it with us in the comments. You got any questions too, right? Let me know. Drop it in the comments. I'll try my absolute best to respond to you guys. And anyways, that was my soapbox. Love SpaceX. I love space exploration. Love all that stuff. So I'm excited. Anyways, thanks for listening. And again, if you got anything, just drop it into the comments. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate you all so much. Make it a great day.